We've already paid our respects to the dearly departed higher-living Honda that we once knew, that bonkers, Takakidino, skin-legged whippersnapper of old. The fog of nostalgia tends to make you forget that, in truth, he wasn't always easy to live with, alternately mopey and hopped up on Adderall as he was. We've begun to move on, in part because we have no choice. The NSX is a hybrid now. The Civic C is turbocharged. And one or the other, maybe even both, of those approaches figure into rumors that Honda may create a successor to the S2000. This all brings us to the 2017 Honda Civic Type R. The casual car enthusiast in America will remember only that there was once an Acura Integra with its suffix, a loud, berserk, frenetic, and spectacular thing that lasted only a short time many years ago. But those peering at this story from beneath the flat brim of a Type R cap will know that there have been 4 generations of Civic Type Rs prior to the car for which we gather today. All of those screamers were kept from our shores. But as Honda slowly comes out of its product malaise, the company decided that bringing over the Type R now, indeed, designing it from the outset with the US market in mind, will help bolster its once unassailable reputation for producing precise little-budget fun mobiles. Not what it looks like. The 2017 model is an entirely different car than what enthusiasts lusted for these many years. You wouldn't know that from looking at it, though. On top of the already nutty Civic hatchback design, Honda adds all manner of wings and splitters and vortex generators and scoops until the exterior looks like a disheveled knife drawer. It looks hyper-Japanese in that anime way. It looks more than a bit juvenile. It looks like it would be basically undrivable. But Honda says all of the body addenda are functional, reducing lift, smoothing air over the tires, generating, vortices, and, in the case of the hood scoop, cooling the engine. Ah, the engine. This turbocharged, direct-injected 2.0-litre inline four is at the core of the Type R's break from the old-style Honda performance. Fed up to 23.2 pounds per square inch of boost, this engine cranks out 306 horsepower at 6,500 revolutions per minute and 295 lb-ft of torque from 2,500 to 4,500 revolutions per minute, and it revs to a mere 7,000 revolutions per minute. Measly by historical hot Honda standards. This is the type of engine that is making us all lazy drivers. You don't have to work for the power here. There's no waiting for the VTEC to kick in, although the engine has variable valve timing and lift, unlike the C's that has only variable timing. Much of the time you needn't bother downshifting, the engine pulling strongly at low revs where an earlier Honda performance engine would leave you hanging. Partisans and purists beware. Now would be as good a time as any to explain the Type R's odd center exit exhaust, which is certain to become one of the car's trademark details. It's not just styling, each of the 3 pipes does something. The fat outer 2 are the primary exhaust routing. The smaller center pipe connects to a resonator tucked just behind the bumper cover. This resonator also attaches to the outer pipes. At relatively low engine speeds, air flows through the outer pipes and the resonator center pipe, which adds some raspiness to the engine's note. At high engine speeds, exhaust air flows almost exclusively through the main pipes, bypassing the resonator and reducing, says Honda, any booming noises. This is done without butterfly valves in the exhaust. Exhaust pressure alone effects the change. The end result is somewhat less fascinating than the means by which it is achieved. At low RPM there is a decent little rasp, but in the engine's upper reaches the whole thing goes quiet. That's great for long highway trips. But we might have liked something a little more thrilling in this zestiest of Civics. This is, however, a great performance engine. Honda claims it has only 3,117 pounds to pull around, and we can confirm the 2.0-litre does so without hiccup or noticeable turbo lag. The engine is bolted exclusively to a 6-speed manual transaxle that incorporates a helical limit slip differential. Between the 2 is a lightweight, single-mace flywheel. And this transaxle features Honda's first application of automatic rev matching for downshifts. Drivers can shut off the rev matching if they'd like to work on heel and toe technique. But the system works beautifully, and we were inclined to just leave it on. Shifter feel is precisely what we've come to expect of Honda, absolute precision. Talking about a revolution, the chassis performance is just as much a pleasant change as the engines. With the Type R, Honda is going up against primarily all-wheel drive competition in the Subaru WRX STI, the Ford Focus RS, and the Volkswagen Golf. Father Honda has to dump all of its substantial torque through only its front wheels. That should result in Dodge Caliber SRT4 levels of torque steer, but it doesn't. Instead of limiting torque or deadening the steering to prevent or mask torque steer, Honda went for a mechanical solution. Out goes the conventional front axle strut suspension of standard Civics. In its place, Honda bolts a more complex and no doubt more expensive arrangement similar to Ford's Revo knuckle front suspension that was underneath the previous generation front-wheel drive Focus RS, which never made it to the States. The same basic idea is at work in Buick's hyper-strut arrangement. Yes, Buick. All of these variations on the strut do essentially the same thing. Mechanically separate the steering and suspension functions while reducing spindle length and scrub radius. Both dimensions are key factors of torque steer. It's effective and doesn't feel unnatural in operation like some other torque steer mitigation systems. The rear suspension remains the same multi-link arrangement as on all current Civics, but it uses beefier links for stiffness. This being a car with a capital R at the end of its name, the springs are stiffer than a standard Civics by a seemingly crazy 200% up front and 160% in the rear. The anti-roll bars are 170% stiffer up front and 240% in back. Add in stiffer bushings all around and you have a recipe for the worst ride quality this side of pretty much every tuner car we've ever driven. We winced preemptively before we even got into the driver's seat. But the ride quality is actually quite good. Now, we didn't drive the car in Michigan, but Quebec, where we did drive it, has imperfect roads. And we must say that we could comfortably drive a Type R every day. The car never reminds you that it's the most highly tuned version of a lesser car. Helping in this regard are electronically adjustable dampers that can be switched in combination with the 3 driving modes, Comfort, Sport, and Plus R. The vehicle defaults to Sport, which seems appropriate. There's a subtle but meaningful difference among the 3 settings, but overall the ride and handling balance is kept within a pretty tight spectrum. It never goes floppy but also never goes into spouse annoying stiffness. The variable ratio, dual pinion steering rack uses beefier tiered ends and a thicker steering shaft. The amount of steering assistance also varies with the driving mode selector. But again the differences in the 3 modes are not dramatic. Any of the 3 settings of this electrically assisted steering yields excellent response and fidelity and even a touch of feel. Right on to the steering ratio is similar to that of a standard Civic. But further a center, as the Type R's ratio quickens, it's actually slower than the regular Civic for improved high-speed stability. The steering ratio goes from 14.9 to 1 on center to 11.2 to 1 at full lock, if you must know the numbers. Honda apparently knew what it was doing, since you don't once think about the steering ratio while driving the Type R. It simply feels natural. Nothing subtle about it. The Type R wears big, fat Continental Sport Contact 6 summer tires sized 2453 OZR20 mounted on 8.5 by 20-inch cast aluminum wheels front and rear. Thighs, sidewalls were another reason we worried ourselves unnecessarily about ride quality. Impact harshness is less than it really has any right to be, but these big tires will cost more than $300 a piece to replace. The big, relatively heavy wheels accommodate the trick front suspension as well as the 13.8-inch cross-drilled brake rotors with 4-piston Brembo calipers on the front axle. Singular piston sliding calipers grab the rear rotors. Thanks perhaps to brake booster modifications for the Type R, the pedal feel is excellent, even if its travel is a bit farther than we might like. The Type R comes with manually adjustable sport seats up front that are specific to the model. They carry thick bolsters and integrated headrests and are comfortable and secure whether you're at the track or on the expressway. By our measurements, they are 1,000,000 times more comfortable than the Recaras that Ford bolts into its high-performance Focuses. Because visual subtlety is not really the Type R spag, these seats are available only covered in brighted cloth, no matter the car's paint color. And the Type R is no strip-head-down track day car. All Type Rs are considered touring models in the standard Civic parlance, meaning they come with all the performance stuff discussed above but also do outzone automatic climate control, proximity entry with push-button start, LED headlights, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay compatibility, navigation, and a 12-speaker audio system. That will set you back $34,775. That's about $1,250 to $5,400 less than its competitors from Subaru, Ford, and VW, or between roughly $7,250 and $9,100 pricier than the less powerful Subaru WRX, Ford Focus Street, and VW GTI. In all but appearance, the Type R is a sophisticated package. It's not the frenetic and furious vehicle that it first presents itself as. It's not the raw-boned Type R that some have bined for. But it's alive. It's here. And it's good.